Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Naomi Karavani!
Thank you so much for coming out here. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out to this. I've been preparing for this for a long time. I've been traveling around, going to different cities. And when you leave New York, you know, everybody's so polite. Uber drivers, very chatty. Got to Nashville. Everybody was like, what brings you to town? And I'm like, a mistake. Clearly. And I was like, you know what? Let me talk to this driver. I'm like, I'm a comedian. I'm doing some shows in town. Then he said, did anybody ever tell you you look like Amy Winehouse? Which is fine. But then he said, sorry? And then he said, she's pretty, right? I'm like, well, sir, you seem unsure. I would have been fine going about my day thinking I looked like Amy Winehouse, but now I have so many questions. Like, are we talking to Amy Winehouse pre or post-addiction? What are we saying here? And was that a compliment or an insult? Usually say sorry for insults. It made me miss New York a little bit, because, like, nobody's throwing around sorries where they don't belong, right? Sorry here is like I love you. You save it for special occasions. Sorry is almost as rare as the will you marry me in City Limits, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't have a job right now, which is why these plants were very expensive. People who work from home are like my natural enemy since we're both at home doing the same thing. Nothing, but you're getting paid for it. It's so unfair. And a lot of people who are working from home, they're not working at home. They're working from all the places everyone else likes to relax. Right? You've seen them in the coffee shops with dual monitors. Right? Headsets on. They're on Zoom at full volume. The coffee shop in my neighborhood, it has all the vibes of air traffic control. I go in there, I'm getting secondhand Zoom. I'm unemployed, but I'm getting my annual review. I'm like, this is not what I came here for. Have you tried to go to a coffee shop and just chat with a friend recently? No, you can't. There's an LLC headquartered there. Are you nuts? You gotta go somewhere else. There's always some crisis going on in the graphic design industry that day. It's insane. Yeah. But yeah, I lived in DC for a number of years. It has a bad reputation as a boring place, but more drugs are legal in DC than there are in New York. Yeah, it's amazing. But nobody can do them because they work government jobs. It's like, it's a cruel practical joke played on an entire city. But I'm like, is the government really worried that people are gonna smoke weed and spill government secrets? Like, you guys know that side effect of weed? Talking, that's not one of them. I had a friend take a strong edible, she went mute for 3 weeks. Like, maybe you should put it in the water, I don't know. I think they're worried like somebody in the military will smoke weed. You can't have that. They gotta look tough. You can't have a 4-star general smoke a fatty. And then he just calls up the Taliban to apologize. He's like, these past 20 years, was I being weird? Was I? To me, honestly, it's like a little bittersweet that all these drugs are becoming legal now, right? Because how do we know who's cool? I was cool back in the day because I bought drugs from a guy named Nipper. Now you can get drugs from converted ice cream trucks on Bushwick Avenue. It's so unfair. And okay, maybe I wasn't arrested, but I did trip hard enough on acid to realize my mind is a prison, okay? I'm a millennial. I don't have other stories. I have tripping in the woods and 9/11, and that's it. So what am I supposed to tell my grandchildren? They're gonna be like, Grandma, you did medicine for fun? There's psychedelics in our Flintstones vitamins. Like, we're microdosing right now. I think in the future we're not going to be able to tell children not to do drugs since we're discovering all these medical benefits, right? So what's the DARE program going to become, huh? You're just going to have a police officer walk into the classroom and he's going to be like, all right, kids, just talk to your doctor and find out if ketamine is right for you. Ketamine is such a popular drug in New York City right now, right? Oh my God, it's insane. If you don't know what it is, it's a party drug, which is also horse tranquilizer, so it does cure COVID. If you've ever taken it, it makes you lose total control of your legs. And people love to take it before they go out dancing in New York. So no one is dancing to the music in clubs anymore in New York. Everybody's just moving like they're on a sinking ship. And they're desperately holding onto the wall. And this is not just me, okay? Vice News just came out with an article that said ketamine is killing the dance floor. Vice News. Are you guys familiar with the work that outlet puts out? Vice News, the guys who brought you vodka-soaked tampons are like, ketamine is killing the dance floor. Yeah, they interviewed DJs who are like, people are disassociating too hard to my dubstep. I was at this club this year, and this girl started to massage my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, crazy night. I'm a bisexual on a crazy night. And every day. I'm in Brooklyn, it's contagious. And I'm thinking, hooking up with a girl is not cheating on my boyfriend, right? He does think it's cheating, but that's his problem. He's too progressive, you know? He thinks women are people who I could have a meaningful connection with. Like, ew, you're not respecting my sexuality, okay? I identify as an opportunist. And that was really my night, you know? The correct reaction is, can I watch? And that's it. Like, let's get on with our lives. So she's massaging my shoulder and then my back. And then she kind of grazes my side. And I turn around and I realize she was just slowly falling to the floor. Yeah, what I thought was a romantic moment was a woman in dire need of help. So we got her over to an Uber, and the whole night when I was on the dance floor, I was like really feeling myself. I was like, oh my God, I'm so attractive. People are just drawn to me. But that woman was just looking at me in her ketamine addled haze. She was like, that girl looks really sturdy. That's what she was into. Yeah, do you guys remember when recycling was gonna save the planet? Then scientists were like, no, it's too late. But still, separate it. I'm glad we got rid of the straws, though, because that was the problem, clearly. I just think we should get rid of straws altogether, right? Like, the substitutions, they're no good. The paper straws, they go limp. I'm like, am I doing this right? And then we have metal, stainless steel straws, like, I think that's really sending a message to these turtles. Like, we're gonna finish the job next time. You better watch out. Anybody on the Zoom therapy now? Yeah. Wow, a lot of well-adjusted woos here. Yeah, Zoom therapy. I love Zoom therapy because I got to watch my therapist give up. Live on it. She was a good therapist when she started out. She was taking notes, agreeing with everything I said, and then, 5 months later during the pandemic, she was like sitting in a bathrobe on the couch, yelling at her husband, and then I swear to God, she goes to the microwave and takes a hot bowl of soup out. So for a minute, I was just speaking to the inside of my therapist's microwave. And I gotta be honest, guys, it made me feel amazing. I'm like, I am doing way better than this bitch. Oh my God. Watching my therapist slowly unravel on Zoom, better than Zoloft. Like, that should be prescribed. Like, what are we doing here? We need to change the whole system of therapy. Like, if you're having a bad day, you should be able to be connected to somebody having a worse day. Say you just got broken up with. You could be connected on Zoom to somebody who wakes up with a misspelled tattoo. Like, how amazing would that be? Just a full sleeve of no regrets. And I looked it up, there are hundreds of people who have that tattoo. It's really amazing. A lot of people who had their philosophies changed overnight. They're like, gotta admit, I have at least one regret. Everything is on the line now. Yeah, we all hate social media, right? Yeah, that's why I'm on it all day and all night. Yeah, I hate it for the lies. We all hate it for the lies, right? Like, I don't even trust landscapes anymore. I'm like, I know that's the good angle of the mountain. Okay? Nowhere is that beautiful. I've been to Greece. It's not sunsets and islands. It's stray dogs. That's what you see. Iceland is a pile of mud. You go to Thailand, you see your recycling there. That's what happens. There's so many lies online. I got impersonated on Instagram, which at this point in my career is a win, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, somebody just created a whole other Naomi Karavani profile and they posted, crazy story, but I do adult content now. I'm like, okay, could this be a small business? Could I operate this out of a coffee shop? I don't know. Yeah, really the only jobs available to me right now are porn or babysitting. Either way, someone is showing their butthole. We live in the asshole economy, guys. But you go to this other Naomi Karavani's profile, and it has a link that takes you to like an OnlyFans site. I go to that site, and it says, I'm Naomi Karavani, and I'm wet on my bed right now. I'm like, oh my God, that is so off-brand for me. I would not do that at all. If I would do porn, it'd have to be funny, right? It'd be like a little slapstick. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so wet right now. I'm dripping on the floor, and whoops, I slipped in it. You know, that would be my kind of porn. I'm just pulling off 17 pairs of panties one by one. A dick bonks me on the head, I fall back down. What I'm saying, guys, is follow me on Instagram. You never know when I'm gonna start doing porn. I'll send you a promo code. I'm unemployed by choice, I guess. I used to work as a high school teacher. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Applause for the quitting. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I miss it because now I heard you get a free gun, and I remember having to buy staplers. Seems a little bit unfair. And my students actually found out that I was doing stand-up comedy when I was teaching. And boy, oh boy, did they immediately lose respect for me and ask me for drugs. But the hardest part of it was it became impossible to tell a joke in class. You know, the bar got way too high. All of a sudden, I was just telling like a normal run-of-the-mill, you know, Abraham Lincoln didn't enjoy the play. He preferred the book. You know, regular crowd pleaser, works every year. I turn around, there's no laughs, none. And one kid's like, how do you expect to make it in this business with those kind of jokes? I'm like, David, you're a 19-year-old freshman. We're both not gonna make it, okay? But I did really care about the kids. I know you guys don't believe me now, but I really did care about the kids. It's just that teenagers, they have the dumbest dreams. Like the girls, they all wanted to be influencers or video hoes or lawyers. And the boys, they all wanted to be professional athletes, no matter the body type. And to me, honestly, it's not that good of a job to be a professional athlete for most of them, because really they're the only men on earth who really get what it's like to be a woman. You know, they have until they're 30 years old. And then men are gonna stop caring about them. That's it. Yeah, men are gonna start watching younger athletes. Maybe college athletes. And for some sick people, high school athletes. It happens, right? Knees have the same shelf life as ovaries. It's over for both of us. I don't know. Am I the only woman who realizes this? Am I the only woman who's weeping at the Super Bowl party? Because I realize as I'm watching, I'm thinking exactly what the players are thinking. Like, as a woman getting older, I'm like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get that ring. This year. And then I get a concussion. It's like the same emotional experience. I mean, I was online dating for 10 years. You don't think I have cognitive damage from that? 10 years of just swiping through men's faces who don't even know how to smile. They're just showing their teeth like it's a dental exam. They're like, here's a pearly white and a fish and my hotter friend. Yeah, I was on all the apps. I was on JDate, JSwipe, Christian Mingle, Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, Facebook Marketplace. Love a good deal. I actually moved in with a comic I met at an open mic, so I found love in a hopeless place. I guess my problem with the guys on the apps is that they would always post pictures of them traveling, you know? They'd always be like on a boat, at sea for some reason, on a mountaintop, flying a plane. And it's like, when I'm looking for a mate, I'm not looking for somebody who could so easily flee the country. Like, I'd rather him not have a passport. Or legs. That could be something I'm into. I don't know. I don't need a smart, cultured guy. Like, I just want somebody who makes me laugh. You know, I could appreciate spending time with a guy who's, like, struggling with self-checkout. That's something we can enjoy together, you know? I could cheer him on. I could be like, baby, don't worry. The machine said help is on the way. Yeah, you did put it in the bagging area. I saw, you did. I was with a really dumb guy for 3 months because that's exactly how long it took him to build my IKEA dresser. And I think about him sometimes when I try and open a drawer. I do. I played a mean trick on him. I told him I like to have sex the way the IKEA manual says, you know, a little Swedish Kama Sutra. And he opened the manual and he was like, oh no, we need 2 men. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to make some phone calls. I'm Jewish. Any other Jews in the house? Okay, 3 in Brooklyn. What are the chances? I'm sure there are other Jews in the room, but they're skeptical of attendance. They're like, we've fallen for this once before, and you fool me once. But my boyfriend, he's ginger but cute, and my boyfriend took this DNA test, and he was really excited to get the results back, even though he's white. Like, what mystery are we gonna solve, buddy? And the results came back, it was what we thought it was gonna be. He's descended from shamrocks and lobsters. And then he said he was 0.1% Jewish. I'm like, wait a second, how did you take this test? He said he spit into a vial and sent it off in the mail. I'm like, all right, considering where your mouth has been for the past 6 months, I think you cheated on this test. Like, he was taking Judaism at very high concentrations, ladies and gentlemen, okay? If he's 0.1% Jewish, I'm like 90% black, for sure. For sure. So we have a lot of people who live in New York City here tonight. Yeah, New York City, it's a cruel place to live. Like, it's almost impossible to find a place to live, right? Like, what do you need to do? You need to spend every day on Zillow looking at the listings. Then you learn Yiddish. And then you wire thousands of dollars to some guy who might have an apartment. And by the way he's dressed, it definitely doesn't look like he has one. Apartment brokers don't look like they have homes or jobs. It's incredible. I'm like, dude, I'm about to give you thousands of dollars. Like, why are you wearing a hoodie? This is too casual for a robbery, what's happening here? And my apartment broker, he was like the laziest Hasidic Jew I've ever seen in my life. And I'm Jewish, I can say this joke. I said that earlier. Like, the man didn't even have curls. He had a beach wave. Like, he wasn't even trying with God, you know? But I'm like, maybe he knows something about the apartment. Nope. He's just explaining things to me that we're both seeing for the first time. He's like, look, a big sink. That's luxury in Brooklyn, right? He's opening doors like, closet. I mean, boiler room. Gotta have one of those. I'm like, here's $10,000. Thank you so much. Yeah, I got to meet my landlord when I was getting a new apartment, and I walked down into the office and I'm like, how do I let these guys know I'm Jewish right away? But I walk in and they're like, Naomi, Jewish name, huh? What's your mom's name? I'm like, Karen? And they're like, Karen! And they start talking in skeptical Yiddish. I'm like, fuck. I should have said Esther or something. What was I thinking? And they're like, okay, what's your dad's name? I'm like, you guys are gonna fucking love this. Yitzchak. And they were like, congratulations, you got the apartment! Confetti falls from the ceiling. They were like, you get to pay 25% above market rate. Can you believe it? 10 years of Hebrew school and all I can say is my dad's name. If they were like in class, this is how you say 3-bed, 2-bath. I would have paid attention. I don't know. But yeah, I love living in New York. You have the most intelligent, worldly people, but you also have the dumbest people. Like, when I walk down the street, since I'm so ethnically ambiguous, I never get normal catcalls. They're just guessing nationalities. When I walk down the street, I just hear, hey girl, you Greek? You Persian? Hey girl, you from the island of Malta? Like, and sometimes I get the stupid ones like, hey snowflake. I'm like, oh my God, this poor guy. He's never left the city. He's never seen snow that wasn't stepped on. This poor guy. I'm Yemeni. That's where some of the brown comes from. Yemen, people get really excited when I say that. Yeah. The other Yemeni guy is excited about that. But yeah, when I tell like white people from America, they're like, oh my God, Yemen? You are so exotic. Have you ever been to Yemen? Do you visit Yemen often? I'm like, I'm not visiting Yemen, man. Have you seen the forecast in Yemen? It's fucking hot as hell with a slight chance of drone strikes. Like, nobody is vacationing in Yemen. I saw my dad recently. He's losing his hearing, but he's happy about it. Do you know old men like this? They're like, after 4 failed marriages, he's like, finally. Some peace and quiet. But it wasn't like he was a good listener even when he had 100% good hearing. Like, I went to college for archaeology. Yeah, the poor bastard paid for it. And I told him several times I'm studying archaeology. The man was going around telling his friends, he's like, my daughter is hydroelectric engineer. Like, do you guys have dads who love their televisions? Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time I go home, it's bigger. I'm like, oh, he's feeding it. That's good. I mean, my dad says his religion is Judaism, but what he practices, it's television, for sure. It is 1,000% television. Like, I don't think you understand how much my dad loves his television. He once removed a window in our living room because of the reflection of sunlight on the television. He removed the window. He plastered over it. Overnight, it went from the window to the wall. It was gone. Some of you guys are acting like this is a normal renovation and not something Al-Qaeda does when they move into a basement. Like, wouldn't you see a glare on the TV and be like, oh, curtains? No, my dad was like, how do I defeat the sun? I'm like, Dad, why don't you move the television? He looked at me like, you're next. But But I'm glad I had a dad who loved his television, because now children are going to grow up with dads who love their phones. Ugh. That is infinitely worse, you know? TV dad, he's lying on the couch, he's chilling. Phone dad, he's hovered over his lap, chuckling to himself, swinging his feet. You're like, Dad, what are you laughing at? He's like, Julius 42069 said Wikipedia should be named Dickopedia. Ha ha ha! You're like, you can't respect a man like that. Yeah, I have friends who are trying to sell me on having kids. They always have the same pitch. They're always like, having a child is the most rewarding experience you'll ever have in your life. And then you go to their houses and they're like, here, you take him. You work in entertainment, right? They're like, guess what, Sydney? Your Auntie Naomi is a clown. I'm like, mostly for drunk adults. I don't do the kid circuit. My friend, her apartment is a total mess. She's so tired. She has bags under her eyes. One tit is out, which is weird because I'm used to her being drunk and having both tits out. And she's like, isn't it magical having children? And the kid in the background is like, Mom, 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 look, I'm choking. Mom, 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 Mom. And I had to take care of my friend's toddler for like 4 hours one day. And this kid has limited screen time. What am I supposed to talk to him about? Has he seen Succession? I don't think so. But he was like, I want to play pretend. And I'm like, okay, great, pretend. What do you want to do? You want to slay a dragon? You want to save a princess? And he's like, I want to go to the airport. How did you know that was my favorite place to go? So we looked for pretend parking for 3 hours. Then we parked in short term too long, so we got a pretend parking ticket. Had to go to pretend traffic court, of course. Barely escaped pretend debtor's prison when his mom was like, hey, Sydney, it's time for dinner. And Sydney was like, Mom, I'm busy. I'm working at a Chick-fil-A in Terminal B. So my friend called me later that day. She said, Sydney's crying because he's worried he's going to lose his home. Yeah. Thank you. That was the social commentary part of my set. But yeah, I think one of the wonderful things about having kids is the bris, right? The bris is the most wonderful thing. Clap your hands if you've been to a bris. Yeah, almost this whole audience. So I'll explain to you who haven't been. It's a beautiful ceremony. It's in this temple-like place. You go there, and there's somebody who's clearly not a surgeon. And he operates on a baby right next to a kosher brunch. It's beautiful. And I got to carry my nephew to the altar to be circumcised, which I thought was a huge honor. But now every time that baby sees me, he just bursts into tears. He's just thinking in his little baby brain, like, oh no, she came for the rest. I get that there's a political movement against circumcision these days, right? The country's very divided. Like, I get their argument, like, we don't live in a desert society anymore. We can wash our turtleneck dicks. I get it. But yeah. There is no medical purpose. It's a cosmetic procedure. And it's your one cosmetic procedure as a man, so stop complaining about it. You get to age naturally, so we take a piece of your dick. And that's not me. Yeah, a lot of comedians, you know what they want? They want the Netflix special. That's what they want. But in order to get that Netflix special, you gotta network with hundreds of depressed, narcissistic, self-centered comedians in order to get that Netflix special. But if you just murder 10, you get a Netflix documentary, guaranteed, for sure. They don't even have to be famous comedians. My brain is broken from all the true crime I've watched. I feel like I have a PhD in murder now. You know, when I see somebody get caught on the news, I'm like, that guy didn't know how to use a bone saw. Come on, man. What is this, amateur hour? The information's out there. I can send you the PDFs. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's true that there aren't that many female serial killer documentaries, but it's not because there aren't lady killers, right? Right, ladies? It's just because women brag less. They're like, this is a story I could keep to myself. I don't need to talk to the press. Like, I was watching this one documentary about this guy. He killed over 50 people, and you know how he was caught? He told everything to an undercover cop at a bar. The cop was like, I didn't even ask. Like, I just know there are female serial killers because my grandmother, she had 3 husbands who she said all died of cholera. I'm like, take a little pride in your work, Nana. You did that. But that was my Yemeni grandma. On my mom's side, the white grandparents, they're also a fun bunch. Yeah, my grandfather, he got his gun permit renewed at the age of 85. Yeah, in Florida, you can do it. He could barely hold up the gun, but they're like, come on in, shoot, shoot, shoot. And in order to get your permit renewed, you gotta like shoot a target, and he shot the target, and they're like, congratulations, Harvey, you passed the test. And he's like, can you tell me what I hit? I couldn't see. Yeah, so they're just giving out guns to blind people in Florida, which is kind of awesome if you think about it. Much better than the white sticks they're getting, I think. I mean, think about it. People are gonna really pay attention when you're crossing the street. Maybe you can't drive, but you could definitely find somebody to give you a ride. They'd probably even go faster than you would have driven. My grandfather, he died a couple years ago from an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound. Yeah, he thought it was a phone. He was like, hello? That's my favorite thing I've ever written. But it usually gets that reaction. The truth that came out after the funeral, worth the trip to Fort Myers, Florida. What I found out is that my grandmother and my grandfather, they were together for 10 years, and what ended the marriage was that my grandfather cheated on my grandmother with her best friend, Bobby Levine. Yeah, Bobby Levine. I didn't change the names in this joke. So, if you know a Bobby Levine in her 80s, watch out. She'll fuck your grandpa, okay? Yeah, and he got caught cheating on Yom Kippur of all days. Yom Kippur, if you don't know, it's the day you ask for forgiveness. Was he just low on sins that fiscal year? Like, what was going on? I don't know. Yeah, Bobby Levine. Her name doesn't matter. We can just call her the Yom Kippur whore. Yeah, I was shocked to learn this about my grandfather, but then this year, my DNA results came back, and turns out my grandfather's not even my grandfather. Yeah, he's a deep state hologram. No, my grandmother actually cheated on him early in the marriage. My mom has a totally different dad she never met. Everybody's dead, so nobody can defend themselves. What was going on in the 50s, guys? Was TV that bad? I think the government in the 60s was like, we need to put a man on the moon or nobody's gonna know who their father is. Like, they were like, get him up there. Jesus Christ. Yeah, my grandmother, she kept that a secret for 55 years. Can you imagine keeping a secret that long? Like, wouldn't you be tempted on your deathbed to be like, by the way, Harvey's not your dad. Bye forever. I had 55 years. I kept that secret for 55 seconds. I hung up the phone. I called everybody I knew. I'm like, my grandma was out there. I couldn't believe it. And you think getting your DNA results is going to be all fun and games, but mine just came back and they were like, you're a Jew. And by the way, remember that man you were fishing with when you were a kid, who you had so much fun with playing tennis? Yeah, that was just some random ass old guy. And all those people you thought were your cousins, you learned their names, you went to their bar mitzvahs. Totally unrelated. You could have been sleeping with them this whole time. Yeah, when I was younger, I wanted to be a marine biologist or an archaeologist. Those were the two things you could do when you were a kid, right? Now I'm an adult. I don't know any ologists. I know a mixologist. But even then, he photoshopped his certification. I know a graphic designer. I think that's it. I was studying archaeology. I did prehistoric archaeology, so it was basically digging up barbecue pits. I was digging up ancient Popeyes dumpsters. That's what I was doing, and paying thousands of dollars to do that. It was insane. I asked the other archaeologists, like, is it always like picking trash? And they're like, with a PhD, a couple postbacks, you could get to the top of the field and you could rob graves. That's what you could do. And so I was a trash picker aspiring to be a grave robber. Yeah, I just imagine people coming back from the dead and seeing us pick their trash and losing respect for modern civilization. Just imagine an ancient Greek coming back from the dead, seeing his dishes in a museum. And he's like, those pieces of shit that I had in my dorm? I got those from IKEA. So stupid. I got really good feedback when I was giving a blowjob recently. Thank you very much. He said, I can tell that you just don't want to do this. I was like, oh my God, he really gets me. That was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. I have one of those friends, very feminist, very stupid. I'm a feminist, but not a stupid one. Okay, she said she likes to give head so she can feel the power over the man. I'm like, you're doing that shit wrong, okay? Like, you gotta leave the struggle outside the bedroom. You can't bring that in. You're giving a blowjob, you're on your knees, you know? You gotta like clock in, clock out, ladies, right? And this is why feminists really love Hillary Clinton. Because that great woman outsourced her blowjobs. Just what a feminist icon. Remember when all you needed to do to be feminist was like wear pants? Nowadays, what do you need to do? You need to like drive a single mother across state lines. Or you could be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You could do that to be a feminist. And we're always like celebrating different things that women are doing no matter what they're doing. Like I was watching a news program once and they were like, guess what? 5 of the top weapons companies are now run by women. And they were like playing Beyonce and they were like, slay queen, literally. Yeah, and they interviewed Marilyn Houston, who's the CEO of Lockheed Martin. They were like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And she's like, well, I had to quiet that voice in my head that said I couldn't do it. And I'm like, yeah, you were listening to the other voice in your head that said, kill, kill, kill. Mary's a good girl. I'm not jealous of younger women, though, because I know that they're not actually enjoying having sex. They're just pretending to. They don't know their bodies. They're just putting a smile on, being polite like they're at a potluck. They're just like, did you make this yourself? But when you get older, like, I know precisely what my body needs. You know, I need, like, a vibrator in one hand, a phone with hardcore porn in the other, while my feet are tied up and I'm getting spanked and choked and called a dirty slut as he's pinching my nipple as the clock strikes 12 on the Uber ride home. You guys know, I don't even need a penis anymore. I just need a lot of equipment. And theater, too. I did meet one of those guys who likes the lady to be dominant in bed. Have you heard of these mythical creatures? Because I was like, all right, I guess this is my real bat mitzvah. Let's go. I got into the bedroom, you know, I was like shadow boxing, doing some squats. And then I turned to him and I was like, can you explain to me how to do this? And he was like, you just tell me what to do. I'm like, all right, give me an example. He's like, I don't know, tell me to get on my knees or something. I'm like, all right, get on your knees, bitch. Is that a part of this? I don't know. And he's like, yeah, now shout it. I'm like, get on your knees, bitch. He's like, a little less Shakespearean. I'm like, get on your knees, bitch. He's like, a little less Freddy Krueger. I'm like, get on your knees, bitch. He's like, a little less DMV. I'm like, this evening, we're gonna get on our knees, bitch. Now back to you, Paula. He's like, a little less Anderson Cooper. And that went on for like 30 minutes. I really had to show my range. And then when I was giving him a sponge bath, I was like, I don't feel like I'm in charge right now. And that's BDSM for you folks, yeah. Going through a tough time. A polyamorous guy owes me money. I don't think you should have a wife, several girlfriends, and these debts to me. That doesn't seem fair at all. Like, their love languages better not be receiving gifts. Really good relationships are based on lies, right? They are. You need lies. It shows effort. Like, you look beautiful today, or that really is your daughter. You know, you need... Worked for my grandparents for 10 years, you know? But polyamorous people, they want to have open, honest conversations with their partner. Why? Just be a little creative. Come up with a story and change the sheets. That's all you need to do. Polyamorous people just don't want to do laundry. And I get that. Yeah, I was with a guy who cheated on me, and I could tell by the sheets. Yeah. No, lipstick on the pillowcase, not what you guys are thinking. And I confronted him, and I'm like, you know, what's been going on? And he's like, well, I was going to tell you I've been seeing this girl, Katie. And I'm like, ew, was that the truth? Did you just own up to what you did without me prying it out of you? Like, do I not inspire you? Like, this is showtime, buddy. What are you doing? But later that day, I got food delivered. The guy was really nice. He dropped it off. Later, I got a text from him. He said, actually, I don't work for DoorDash. I'm really a neurosurgeon doing a favor for a friend. Would you like to go out sometime? You see how it's done, fellas? That guy wasn't just a doctor. He picked a specialty. He created other characters, the friend. He created a world where benevolent neurosurgeons do emergency dumpling deliveries. Like, that is how you talk to a lady. I was pregnant recently, and the hormones, they get so bad. I was so angry. I wanted to murder somebody. And I totally did. Not as satisfying as killing an actual person, but I recommend it. I was like, maybe I shouldn't eat certain things when I'm pregnant, but I was like, you know what? We should have like champagne and oysters, because this baby's on death row. Like, and calling the gynecologist, that's always an experience. There's always a weird question when you call the gynecologist, right? They're always like, would you like to see a male or a female doctor? One woman is like, you know what, today? Give me a male. I got a fresh Brazilian wax I'm gonna show off. I'm gonna have him guess my date of birth. Like, what woman has that kind of confidence? I don't. I think it's a little strange that male gynecologists these days, like, right? If you went to school in the 70s for gynecology, fine. But can you imagine a straight man walking around today telling everybody he's an aspiring gynecologist? Right now, during the Me Too era? Like, no, find another passion, bro. You can't be a professional pussy inspector. I'm sorry. We have all these women in STEM. I don't know, I'm just not even convinced anything that a male gynecologist is doing is like real medicine. You know, the 2-finger test. I'm like, come on, man, you didn't learn this in medical school. You learned that in middle school, like the rest of us, okay? I feel like they were just like riffing out the gynecological exam in the 1800s. You know, it was just like one dude with a lantern, like, show me a lady flower. First, we jam some fingers in. If the lady kicks you, that's a healthy lady. Or a horse, we don't know. And then you put your ear to it like a seashell. And now for the taste test. What I really miss about teaching is the field trips. There's nothing like walking into a movie theater with 150 teenagers and seeing the faces of other people there. I'm like, enjoy your feature presentation, motherfuckers. What I didn't realize was that there was a writer for the New York Times sitting with my students. Yeah, and he came up to the teachers after the movie and yelled at us and said the kids were misbehaving and that the teachers, we weren't watching over them. And then he wrote my principal a 3-page letter about his experience. And it is beautiful. Dear Principal Steinbach, by way of introduction, I'm a columnist for the Times and a resident of Brooklyn, and it pains me to write to you today, but it would pain me more not to do so. You can tell that this is a final draft, right? I have lived in many countries. I have been your student's age. I watch movies almost every week in different cinemas across New York. Okay, he starts off with a brag. He's well-traveled. But then he follows that with, I've been your student's age, which I would have assumed was the case. But now I think he's lying. He goes on, never in my life have I been so ashamed and embarrassed by behavior in a movie theater as I was today. Like, holy shit, what did my students say in this movie about slavery? Like, we're gonna have to extend the Civil War curriculum? Like, what did they say? Apparently, one of the students said that the actress had extremely small titties. That was the inspiration for this 3-page letter. They complained and requested something more copious as we watched one of the greatest degradations of American history take place. Now it goes on and on and on, and I don't want to, I can't read the whole thing, but would you like to hear my reply? Okay, dear... I might edit this name out. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day of matinee watching, writing, and general fury at the world to notify my principal of my students' behavior. It is true that they besmirched all of American history that afternoon at the Regal Union Square 14 Cinema and brought shame upon Bay Ridge High School. There has been a long, unfortunate, and shameful history in the United States of favoring big titties over small titties. In fact, I fear that I may be part of the oppressor class. Whenever I have a drink bought for me, I believe I've taken that rum and coke directly out of the hands of a woman with small titties. Perhaps Steve McQueen will one day address the tragic fate of small-breasted women in 12 Years a Concave Chest. Until then, I will be sure to address this titty issue in my curriculum directly after I cover the difference between fine art and penis graffiti. I so appreciate that you're getting involved in the community and that you're not a cunty, out-of-touch intellectual. Yours sincerely, Miss Karavani, PhD cup. And instructor of American history. We made it. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Give it up for Mike Leibovitz. Give it up for Mohamed El-Sheikhi. Thank you to my director, Denise Taylor, Spin Sadiq, everyone. everybody in the back. Thank you.